Her daughter forgot her birthday for the 5th year in a row. Charlene Brooks, former event planner and single mother, didn't remind her. At the rehearsal dinner, Emily raised a toast, still unaware. By morning, the venue was locked, the deposit retracted, and the florist redirected. Charlene had planned hundreds of weddings, just not this one. And when the limo circled twice with nowhere to stop, the silence was mother-made. Wait, before we go any further, I gotta ask, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Lorraine Bell opened her eyes to the soft hum of cicadas outside her bedroom window. Pale morning light filtered through the linen curtains, casting long shadows across the quiet room. She reached for her phone on the nightstand, more out of habit than hope. No notifications, no missed calls, no texts. She stared at the screen a moment longer than she needed to. Then she placed the phone face down and exhaled, slow and steady, as if letting the silence settle into her bones. Downstairs, the smell of buttered toast didn't waft through the air. No card sat waiting on the table. The only sign that today meant anything at all was the small bakery box on the counter, the one she'd picked up herself yesterday, just in case someone remembered. She opened the lid. The cake was still perfect, untouched. "Happy birthday, Lorraine," was written in white script across pale lavender frosting. She closed the lid again. After pouring herself a lukewarm cup of yesterday's coffee, Lorraine carried it to the living room and sat by the bay window, the one that overlooked the garden. Her knees ached slightly as she lowered herself into the cushion. The house groaned in the silence, an old home, filled with the memories of voices that no longer echoed through it. She picked up her phone again, opened Facebook, and tapped through the first few stories. There she was, Kayla, her only daughter, wearing a silk robe with bride vibes stitched across the back, grinning in a selfie taken at a nail salon. The caption read, "Wedding Trial Day. Countdown begins." Lorraine stared at the image, thumb hovering. There was no mention of the day. No, "Happy birthday, Mom," not even a stray emoji. She locked the phone and set it aside. The front door creaked open without a knock. Denise walked in, holding 2 cups of coffee from Clover and Pine, their usual spot. "Did I miss the party, or is it just fashionably late this year?" Denise asked, already knowing the answer. Lorraine gave her a soft smile and a shrug. "5th year. That's a tradition now." Denise placed the cups down, walked over to the counter, and opened the cake box. "Still sealed," she noted. "You waiting for the Queen of England to show up?" "Wouldn't matter. She wouldn't eat carbs either." Denise snorted, then looked at her friend. Really looked at her. Lorraine's posture was the same, her wit intact, but there was something slightly sunken behind her eyes. A tiredness that came not from age, but from long-term emotional erosion. "I brought the hazelnut latte you hate because it makes you roll your eyes," Denise said, sitting beside her. "And because you're going to need your edge today." Lorraine took a sip and smirked. "It's still terrible." "Perfect." They sat in comfortable silence for a few moments, the kind that only comes from knowing someone for decades. Then Lorraine stood slowly, walked to the back door, and picked up her sun hat from the hook. "I'm going out." Denise watched as Lorraine stepped barefoot onto the dew-kissed grass, trailing the scent of coffee and old roses behind her. She moved deliberately, almost ceremoniously, toward the garden. The venue had once hosted some of the most beautiful weddings in Richmond: white arbors, wrought iron chairs, climbing ivy. Lorraine had built every inch of it herself, with the help of her late husband, and a determination that hadn't faded, even now. But as she watered the rose bushes, pausing at each one like they were old friends, the weight of being forgotten settled into her chest like a stone. A petal fell. Lorraine caught it in her hand. Software, faintly perfumed. A tiny thing, but somehow heavier than it should have been. From inside, Denise watched through the window, clutching the bakery box like a relic. Lorraine turned toward the gate at the edge of the garden, the one leading into the venue space. A ring of keys hung from her belt loop. She reached for them. Her fingers paused over one key in particular, the oldest, the one that opened everything. She didn't pull it off. She just stood there, hand hovering, eyes fixed. Then from inside the house her phone buzzed once on the coffee table. A single message. One name, Kayla. Lorraine didn't turn around. Instead, she slipped the key back into her pocket and walked deeper into the garden. The sun was higher now, burning off the haze from the early morning. Lorraine had just returned from the garden when the phone rang. Not a buzz, not a text, but a call this time. The screen lit up. Kayla. Lorraine stood in the kitchen, still holding her sun hat in one hand, dirt on her fingers, her sandals damp with dew. She stared at the screen until the third ring, then picked up. "Hi, Mom. Quick one. I just wanted to confirm the rehearsal's still on for Thursday, right? Around 5? I told my planner it was locked in." No happy birthday. Not even a pause for it. Lorraine leaned against the counter, looking out through the open back door to the garden she'd just come from. Her roses swayed gently in the breeze, still beaded with droplets. "It's penciled in," she said. Calm, even. A practiced neutrality. "Penciled," Kayla echoed, the tone shifting. Not concern, but confusion laced with entitlement. "What do you mean, penciled? You told me months ago." "I said I'd hold the date," Lorraine interrupted softly. "That's not the same as confirmed." A silence buzzed on the line, just long enough to be noticeable. Then, "Well, obviously it's confirmed. I mean, it's me." Lorraine let that hang in the air. "I've gotta go," she said. "The soil's drying too fast today." Before Kayla could respond, she ended the call and set the phone down, face up this time, like it might suddenly show something new. But it didn't. From the dining room, Denise called out, "She hit you with the 'it's me,' didn't she?" Lorraine walked in slowly, wiping her hands on a dish towel. Denise sat at the table with her glasses perched low, flipping through a spiral-bound venue checklist from last year's weddings. "You don't have to play nice anymore, Lo," she said. "You don't owe her that." "I know. Do you?" Lorraine didn't answer. Instead, she reached for the keyring still clipped to her jeans. It clinked lightly as she turned it in her hand, her thumb brushing the long silver one. Slightly rusted, the teeth dulled from years of use. The venue key, the one she hadn't let anyone else copy. She unhooked the entire ring and placed it on the table in front of her, but she didn't remove the key. Denise watched her with quiet expectation. Lorraine just shook her head. "Not yet." Just then, Alicia knocked once and stepped inside, clipboard in hand, ponytail tight, a no-nonsense look on her face as usual. "Morning, Lorraine. Morning, Denise. Quick thing, I checked the files this morning and we never received a signed contract from Kayla." Lorraine tilted her head, feigning mild surprise. "Really?" "She emailed the draft back in April but never signed or returned it. Deadline was the 15th of last month." Alicia paused. "Which means, technically, we have an open weekend." Lorraine took a breath, then walked to the small roll-top desk near the front window. It was a piece her husband built. Oak, solid, worn smooth by years of event planning and tax seasons. She opened the middle drawer and pulled out a file folder marked Pending, Family. Inside, crisp and uncreased, was Kayla's unsigned contract. Lorraine looked at it for a long moment, her thumb resting on the empty signature line. Then she slid it onto the table between them. No initials, no deposit, no liability waiver. Denise arched an eyebrow. And no birthday call. Lorraine tapped the paper once with her fingertip and then folded it closed again. Her movements were calm, measured. But inside, a quiet shift was happening, like tectonic plates just beginning to slide. Alicia stood straighter. "Do you want me to open the date back up?" Lorraine didn't answer right away. She returned to the kitchen, poured herself another half cup of coffee, this time fresh. From the kitchen window, the wind chimes outside the venue gate began to stir, a soft, silvery chorus. A storm wasn't coming, but something else was. Lorraine turned to Alicia. "Hold off for now, just flag it." Alicia nodded. "Got it." Denise gave Lorraine a long, knowing look. "You know, Lo, that key doesn't owe her a damn thing." Lorraine didn't respond, but as she looked out the window again, her eyes didn't follow the garden this time. They were fixed on the gate. By mid-afternoon, the light in Lorraine's office had shifted to that soft amber hue that made papers glow, and old wood seem warmer than it was. She sat at her desk, a mug of untouched tea going cold beside the mousepad, eyes fixed on her email window. A new message had arrived from Trent Dillard. Subject line: Venue use without signed agreement. She clicked it open. Lorraine, no ambiguity here. No signed contract, no legal obligation. You're within full rights to release the date to another party. Let me know if you want to move forward with formal withdrawal notices. Happy to draft something neutral? Or not. Best, Trent. She reread the message once, then again, slower. The knot in her chest that had settled over the past few days didn't unravel, but it did shift. She reached to the right-hand drawer of the desk and pulled out the folder one last time. The same crisp, unsigned contract, the one Kayla never bothered to finish. Lorraine stood, walked to the printer in the corner, and made a fresh copy, just to be official. The hum of the machine filled the room like a low sigh. Then she opened her bottom drawer, the one with the old date stamp, inked it, and pressed the red letters hard across the front page. Void. The sound was satisfying. Not loud, not angry, just final. She placed the stamped contract neatly in a manila envelope labeled "For Records" and slid it into her filing cabinet. Her motions were slow, composed, but her hands didn't shake. A knock at the doorframe broke the moment. Alicia stood there with her tablet in one hand. "Do I take it down?" Lorraine nodded. "Post a quiet inquiry. Members only." Alicia tapped something into her tablet without another word. Within seconds, the date was subtly made available on the venue's private board, reserved for referrals, repeat clients, and those who understood the space wasn't about Instagram aesthetics, it was about respect. Lorraine sat back down and checked her phone. Kayla, 2:11 p.m. "Hey, can we talk about centerpieces? Do you still have those dusty hydrangeas in the shed, or should I rent some new ones? LOL. No mention of her birthday. Again." Lorraine didn't answer. She didn't even open the message fully, just stared at the preview and then hit mark as unread, like maybe if she left it unopened long enough, it would disappear, or reveal who her daughter had become. From the hallway, Denise's voice carried through. "I'm heading out to drop these forms at the post office. You good for dinner later?" Lorraine called back. "Depends if my appetite comes back with my dignity." Denise popped her head in, sunglasses already on. "Well, if you're feeling brave, I made potato salad the Southern way. No raisins, like God intended." Lorraine managed a half smile. "You're a saint. You're just saying that because you're finally getting your damn spine back." Lorraine stood and walked past her, down the hallway toward the glass doors that opened to the garden. She didn't say anything, just reached for the windbreaker by the door, slipped it on, and walked out barefoot onto the gravel path. She crossed the venue yard slowly, passing under the pergola. Its vines were in full summer bloom, thick and fragrant, wrapped like memories around every beam. A decade of couples had said their vows here. She could almost hear the faint echo of champagne corks and laughter. But none of those memories were Kayla's, and that suddenly felt important. At the gate leading to the street, she paused, reached into her jacket pocket. The key was still there. She slid it into the lock, turned it, and listened for the clack of the latch falling into place. Then she pulled the heavy iron bolt across the inside and sealed it shut. Not a slam, just shut. As she turned back toward the house, the gravel shifted beneath her steps. A breeze picked up, carrying with it the scent of rosemary and early August heat. Back on the porch, Denise waited, arms crossed, a question written all over her face. Lorraine didn't hesitate. "It's locked." Denise raised an eyebrow. "So, what do you want to do instead?" Lorraine looked out over the empty venue space. Beautiful, open, hers. For the first time in years, the silence there didn't feel like loss. "I don't know yet," she said, "but I think I want it to matter." Lorraine stood alone in her office the next morning, early enough that the cicadas hadn't started up yet. The house was still. She'd already made her coffee, strong, black, no sugar this time, and sat holding the warm mug like it might offer direction. The venue gate was still locked, but something inside her had opened. She reached for the dusty Rolodex on the second shelf, a habit from before the cloud, before everything lived in inboxes and shared drives. She turned through the cards, slowly, her finger stopping at a handwritten name, Mia Langston. Below it, a scribbled note. Sweet girl, lost venue in flood, maybe July backup? Lorraine picked up the phone and dialed. It rang once, twice. Then a quiet voice picked up, breathless. Hello? Mia. This is Lorraine Bell from Rosegate Gardens. A pause. Then, oh. Hi, yes, I remember. You have the beautiful ivy wall with the lanterns. That's us. Another silence, this one less anxious. Waiting. I wanted to ask something, Lorraine said. Would you still be interested in the August 3rd weekend? Silence again. But it cracked open this time with the sound of Mia sucking in her breath. You're serious? Her voice wavered. I am, it's last minute, I know, but if you still need a venue, I'd like to offer it. At cost. On the other end, Lorraine could hear muffled sobbing, and then a rushed whisper. Mom, it's her. It's the Rosegate lady. Lorraine smiled quietly and waited. When Mia came back to the line, her voice trembled. Yes, we'd be honored. I don't know how to say thank you. You just did. An hour later, a silver Subaru pulled up to the edge of the drive. Mia stepped out first, short, curly-haired, with a notebook clutched to her chest like armor. Her parents followed behind, clearly not Richmond locals. The father wore a button-down tucked into jeans. The mother carried a Tupperware full of something homemade, as if meeting Lorraine required a gesture. Lorraine met them halfway down the gravel path, wiping her hands on her apron. You must be Mia's folks. Her father extended a hand, firm shake, warm smile. George Langston. And this is my wife, Ruby. We drove up from Roanoke last night after she told us. Ma'am, this... He looked around the garden like it was a miracle. This place is... It's something. Mia looked like she might cry again. We thought we'd have to do it in the recreation center after all the mess with our first venue. You don't need to explain, Lorraine said gently. This space is meant for people who understand what it's worth. George looked at her, eyes glistening but steady. You're a blessing, Ms. Bell. People like you. We don't forget them. The words hit deeper than she expected. Lorraine blinked fast, her throat tightening. You're kind to say that. Behind them, Alicia emerged from the side door with her clipboard. Do you want me to walk through layout options? Mia nodded, her smile shaking. Please. Alicia led them past the pergola, talking measurements, fabric options, sound setup. Lorraine stayed back a moment, her hand resting on the warm gate post, watching them disappear into the garden. Hey! Denise's voice came from behind her, camera already in hand. Smile like you mean it. I didn't know you were here, Lorraine said, brushing a curl behind her ear. You always get that look when someone finally treats you like you're real. It's worth documenting. She snapped a photo before Lorraine could protest. Lorraine rolled her eyes but didn't move. She looked out over the lawn, already imagining chairs being arranged, petals being scattered, soft music rising as another bride stepped into something she'd remember forever, something Kayla had never really seen. She exhaled, long and steady, the weight in her chest shifting again, not gone, but livable. From across the lawn, Alicia called out, Lorraine, Mia's asking if we can swap in the string lights for dusk? Lorraine smiled. Tell her I'll wire them myself. She started walking toward them, the breeze lifting the hem of her apron slightly, the sun warming the back of her neck. Behind her, Denise looked down at the photo on her camera screen. Lorraine, backlit, with a soft smile she hadn't seen in years. And then, inside the house, on the side table by the window, Lorraine's phone lit up with another text. Kayla, hey, just booked the florist, excited. Still no mention of the change, still no idea. Lorraine didn't open the text. Not the first time she passed by the side table, not the second. By the third pass, the screen had gone dark again, and she made no move to wake it. She had more pressing things to do, and for once they didn't revolve around pretending Kayla's negligence was normal. Outside, the gravel cracked softly under the tires of a white catering van as Mia's setup crew pulled in. Alicia greeted them with her usual brisk warmth, clipboard already out, walking them through logistics. Tent anchors, layout sketches, linen specs. They worked efficiently, respectfully. No loud voices, no drama. just the quiet hum of people trying to make something beautiful out of a second chance. Lorraine stood on the porch, arms folded, watching the garden come to life. She sipped from a mason jar of cold brew as the long white tent slowly stretched open across the southern end of the venue lawn, the spot Kayla once said looked too rustic for her brand. Inside, Alicia updated the venue schedule on the wall calendar. A sticky note with Kayla, August 3rd, written in pink gel ink, was pulled down, folded in half, and slipped quietly into the bottom drawer. Replaced with a clean black and white printout, MIA Langston. Full access. Denise glanced over Alicia's shoulder as it went up. Looks better already. Outside, Lorraine caught the flicker of movement through her front window. Her phone lit up again, this time with an Instagram notification. She didn't need to check it. Denise already had. From the doorway, Denise called out with that particular tone she used when trying not to laugh, but failing. "You may want to see this one." Lorraine stepped back inside and took the phone Denise held out. Kayla had posted a fresh story, a boomerang of a lavender bouquet and a glittery clipboard labeled Venue Finalization. In swoopy overlay text, "Finalizing our venue. Thanks, Mom." Lorraine blinked, once, twice, then let out a short, sharp laugh. Not joyful, not bitter, something between disbelief and exhaustion. She really doesn't get it. "Nope," Denise said, already pulling out her own phone. "I'll send Trent a heads up." Lorraine handed the phone back. "Tell him to keep it professional. No threats, just correction." Denise grinned. "Classy vengeance. My favorite kind." Alicia stepped in from the back with her tablet. "You want me to flag the social post for false attribution?" "Not yet," Lorraine said. "Let's give her one last moment to feel certain." The hum of drills and tent anchors continued in the background. Mia's crew moved like clockwork, polite, grateful, focused. Lorraine had offered them water and shade, and they'd responded like she'd handed them gold. As Lorraine watched from the porch, Mia herself arrived again, a clipboard in one hand, bouquet samples in the other. She waved brightly, unbothered by the Virginia heat. Lorraine waved back. Behind her, Denise's phone buzzed. She glanced down, opened the new message, and let out a low whistle. "Trent's fast." She handed the phone to Lorraine. On screen was a clean PDF draft bearing the crisp header of Trent Dillard's law office. Unauthorized promotion and use of venue likeness. To whom it may concern, as of July 26, 2020, Rosegate Gardens is under no contractual obligation. Lorraine didn't finish reading it. She'd seen enough. "You think she'll believe it when she gets this?" Denise asked. Lorraine looked back toward the garden. Mia was now walking the path toward the pergola, running her fingers along the railing Kayla never touched. "She'll believe it when she's standing on the other side of the gate and someone else is in her spot." Denise nodded once. "And that moment's coming." They stood in silence for a beat longer. A bird rustled the leaves overhead. Someone outside called out for another extension cord, and then Lorraine's phone buzzed again. This time, a call. "Kayla." Lorraine let it ring. Outside, Mia's father stepped out of the tent with a folded ladder in his arms and gave Lorraine a small salute. She smiled. Inside, the phone stopped ringing. By the time Kayla arrived, the tent was already up, string lights clipped into place like jewelry. The scent of gardenia and cut grass hung in the humid air. Mia's team moved with quiet precision, testing the mic, double-checking table placements, taping cords to the pathway bricks. Kayla's black SUV screeched a little too loudly as it pulled into the side gravel lane. Lorraine, sitting just inside her sunroom with a cup of mint tea, didn't move. She heard the tires. She heard the slam of the car door. She heard the shout. But she stayed exactly where she was, legs crossed, her tea warm in her hands, and the air just barely disturbed by the ceiling fan above. Alicia met Kayla at the iron gate. "Excuse me, I need to get in," Kayla snapped. "I'm supposed to be doing my walkthrough today. I know I didn't book it through you, but my mom owns this place, so—" "Yeah." Alicia didn't blink. She tapped the iPad in her arm like it was gospel. "This weekend is booked. Mia Langston is our confirmed client. You're not on today's schedule." Kayla's face contorted. "Mia who?" Alicia's smile didn't reach her eyes. I'm happy to forward you a copy of our policy documents. You've got to be kidding me. Kayla glanced past her, eyes darting across the lawn. She saw the tent, the tables, the floral arch in mid-assembly, and the faces, strangers, already setting up in what she had long considered her space. From inside, Lorraine sipped. Kayla spotted her through the sunroom window, marched toward the house, only to stop at the locked garden gate. "Mom! Seriously?" Lorraine lifted her eyes slowly. The window glass caught her reflection, a calm woman in linen and quiet resolve. "You replaced me?" Kayla shouted. "With that?" Lorraine took another sip and said nothing. Kayla banged her hand once against the gate. "I needed this, Mom. I told everyone. I already posted. Do you know how that makes me look?" From the far side of the garden, Marcus came walking up the side path, khakis rumpled, a bouquet sample in one hand, confusion written all over his face. "Kayla? What's going on?" Kayla turned to him, already fuming. "My mom just gave our wedding venue away. To some stranger. Behind my back." Alicia didn't move. "Actually, she never confirmed with you." Marcus blinked. "Wait, you didn't sign anything?" "I was going to!" Kayla snapped. "God, why is everyone acting like this is my fault?" From the sunroom, Lorraine finally rose. She stepped outside onto the porch, quiet and deliberate. "This venue," she said, voice clear but steady, "is for people who remember who built it, who tended the roses, who repaired the broken railing, who stayed up till midnight stringing lights, not people who forget birthdays and send emojis instead of apologies." Kayla stood stunned. "You're seriously doing this, right now, in front of everyone?" "Yes," Lorraine said, "especially in front of everyone." Mia, standing near the tent, froze. Her father, George, gently placed a folding chair down and looked away, giving the moment dignity. Kayla turned to Marcus, panicked now. "Say something!" He stared at Lorraine, then at the venue, the clean lines, the love in the details. And for the first time, his silence didn't feel like loyalty to Kayla. Kayla's voice cracked. "You're selfish, Mom. You're doing this just to make a point." "No," Lorraine said softly. "I'm doing it because I finally learned how." Kayla let out a sound, half scoff, half sob, and turned on her heel. The sound of her heels hitting gravel was sharp, too fast, too loud. The SUV door slammed, engine roared. She was gone in seconds. Alicia looked down at her iPad and tapped in a note. "Blocked access confirmed," she murmured. Lorraine turned and walked back inside without another word. The moment had been coming, but it didn't leave her triumphant. It left her still. Denise appeared behind her, having seen the whole thing from the kitchen. She raised an eyebrow and crossed her arms. "She brought that on herself," she said flatly. "But if you need to scream into a pillow, I've got options." Lorraine didn't answer. She went to the sink, rinsed her cup, and placed it upside down in the rack. Then she reached into the drawer and pulled out an old manila envelope, the one labeled Estate, Personal Use, and ran her thumb over the seal. The next morning, the sky was a gauzy gray, and humidity clung to the windows like breath on glass. Lorraine stood barefoot in the kitchen, slicing strawberries for a tray Alicia had requested, brunch prep for Mia's floral vendor team. The house smelled like fresh basil and toasted almond. Denise sat at the island, reading the Richmond Weekly with her glasses low on her nose. "I swear this woman used your old hydrangea arch in her launch post," Denise muttered. "Scroll down." Lorraine dried her hands, took the iPad Denise had slid over, and tapped open Kayla's blog. There it was, a splashy homepage launch with a carousel of dreamy wedding images, filtered to perfection, saturated in blush tones. Kayla in a white dress, not her real one, but a styled shot from last fall. And behind her? Lorraine's garden, the pergola, the venue, photos she'd taken without permission during a site test shoot nearly a year ago, before Lorraine had laid new stonework or refinished the railings. Still, the caption made it sound fresh. "Dreaming of our big day at the place that raised me. My mother's venue is the heart of this vision. Such heirloom weddings, in legacy love, booked and blessed." Lorraine didn't flinch, but her jaw tightened. She's stealing warmth she never earned. Alicia walked in just then, caught sight of the screen, and froze mid-step. She tagged the venue's location? Lorraine nodded, and used old press photos. I'll handle it. Alicia set her coffee down, opened her laptop at the counter, and began typing at a speed Lorraine had come to associate with someone protecting a boundary, not just a brand. Within minutes, the venue's Instagram issued a simple, clipped message. Rosegate Gardens is not affiliated with any promotional materials or media published by Ms. Kayla Bell. Use of likeness denied. Any previous association has been voided due to lack of contract. Denise arched an eyebrow. That'll sing. Within an hour, comments under Kayla's blog post started to shift. Why isn't your mom tagged anymore? Didn't that venue post about a totally different bride last week? Something's not adding up here. Kayla, of course, tried to outpace it. She posted another filtered selfie, dramatic lighting, glossy lips, a cryptic caption. Growth sometimes means distance, healing, boundaries, energy protected. Lorraine rolled her eyes. She's branding her tantrum. By afternoon, Marcus appeared at the house. He didn't knock. He stood outside the porch rail, awkward in a faded hoodie and wedding sample folders under his arm. Lorraine saw him through the screen and motioned him in with a quiet nod. He stepped inside, looked around, then finally asked, "Can we talk?" She folded the dish towel in her hand, then gestured toward the kitchen table. "You want coffee?" Sure." They sat in the growing stillness. Marcus looked tired in a way that went deeper than lack of sleep. He rubbed the back of his neck. "She told me you blindsided her," he said. "But she also didn't mention she never signed anything, and then I saw the post this morning." Lorraine said nothing. She let the silence press in. People tended to fill it with truth when given enough space. He cleared his throat. "I asked her why she didn't tag you, why she used old pictures, and I asked about your birthday." Still quiet. Marcus looked down at his coffee. "She said you were being dramatic, that you always are." Lorraine gave a small, humorless smile. "She's been workshopping that line since she was 17. He finally met her eyes. "I think she doesn't know who you are. Not really, but I'm starting to." Lorraine tilted her head, studying him for a moment. The way his voice cracked when he said it, the way his hand trembled a little when he sipped his coffee. Not out of fear, out of the slow collapse of disillusionment. "She's unraveling," he added quietly. "And she's trying to drag your name down with her." Lorraine stood and walked to the window. Outside, the tent lights were still up. A few of Mia's vendors had returned to pick up decor samples. They waved politely as they passed. "She's welcome to rebuild," Lorraine said softly. "But not on ground," she salted herself. Marcus nodded. Then his phone buzzed. He looked down, sighed, and stood. "I should go," he said. "But thank you for not pretending." Lorraine didn't say goodbye. She just nodded. After he left, Denise stepped back in from the porch. "He's got one foot out the door." "Maybe," Lorraine said, "but he'll land better than she will." From the hallway, Alicia called out, "One of Kayla's followers just messaged the venue account asking why we're not doing her wedding anymore." Denise grinned. "Shall I send them a copy of the voided contract?" Lorraine smiled faintly. "Number, let them figure it out." She walked to her office, opened her desk drawer, pulled out a folder labeled LLC, Reallocation Drafts. The rain came early Saturday morning, soft, southern, and steady. It soaked the gravel, dappled the roses, and cooled the air just enough for breath to fog the windows. Lorraine stood in the sunroom, a legal folder open on the table, reading each line slowly. Trent's email was clear, thorough, and unsigned only by her. "This transfer will formally remove all ambiguity regarding inheritance, access, or shared claim. The LLC will be solely in your name and cannot be contested under standard Virginia family asset law once finalized." She picked up the pen, clicked it once, signed. Across the hall, Alicia leaned into the doorframe with a bundle of new flyers in her hands. "We've got another booking." Lorraine looked up. "Referral from Mia's planner," Alicia said, flipping one of the flyers around. It featured a smiling couple. Soft pastels, picnic-style tables, croissants, and mimosa towers. They want a Sunday morning garden brunch wedding, just under 40 guests. Lorraine took the flyer, examined it, then nodded. Make it official. Alicia smiled. This weekend just became double booked. We're turning into a boutique powerhouse. Lorraine raised an eyebrow. Boutique sounds nice. Powerful sounds better. They both laughed, but quietly. There was weight behind it now. Not giddiness, but control. Later that afternoon, Lorraine placed the new flyer into a display stand on the front desk beside a bowl of wrapped caramels. The Sunday couple's names, Jason and Elise, were printed neatly in cursive font. A second framed flyer beside it showed Mia, laughing beneath the pergola, bouquet in hand, golden light behind her like a blessing. 2 brides, 1 weekend. No Kayla, which made the call all the more ironic. Lorraine didn't answer it. Her phone buzzed 3 times in less than 10 minutes, once from Kayla, then from an unknown number, then, finally, a text. Kayla. Mom, call me. It's urgent. My backup venue fell through. Construction issue. We're out of options, please. Lorraine tapped her screen. Mute notifications. In the kitchen, Denise set down a typed document beside the cookie jar. Her latest creation. Laminated and laminated again. Rosegate Gardens. Venue policy. Addendum 3. Effective immediately. No family or relatives may book event space without a fully signed contract, security deposit, and liability insurance on file. No exceptions, no holds. Lorraine read it, smiled. Post it by the front door and on the website. Denise winked. You're a damn fortress now. No, Lorraine said, tapping the folder Trent had returned, now signed and sealed. Now I'm the deed holder. By late afternoon, the rain had cleared. The ground glistened and workers arrived to string fresh garlands for Jason and Elise's brunch setup. Lorraine moved through the venue quietly, greeting vendors, offering lemonade, fixing a crooked chair without anyone asking her to. She was calm, she was exact, she was present. Inside the office, Alicia stood at the printer, stacking fresh brochures. The cover showed Mia in a soft blue dress, arms around her new husband. Below it, in small, elegant script, Rosegate Gardens, a legacy built in bloom. She printed another stack with Jason and Elise's photo below, then paused. The screen lit up again. Another email. From Kayla. Subject, URGENT. Please reconsider. We'll pay double. I can fix the post. I didn't mean to disrespect you. I was just overwhelmed. Please. Alicia glanced toward the sunroom, saw Lorraine folding a pile of monogrammed napkins with quiet precision. She didn't forward the message. Instead, she dragged it into a folder labeled Deferred. Back outside, Denise held up her phone to take a picture of Lorraine helping place centerpieces under the arbor. Smile, she called. Lorraine didn't look up, but she smiled anyway. From the road, a black SUV idled across the street, hidden behind tinted windows, watching. The black SUV was gone by morning, but its silence lingered. Lorraine found the envelope on the porch bench. Pale pink, sealed unevenly, warped slightly from humidity. No postage, just her name scrawled in Kayla's handwriting, slightly slanted, slightly rushed, like a child hoping a gesture would make up for what words didn't. She held it between 2 fingers like it might drip. Denise appeared beside her in her robe, steaming mug in hand. Early delivery? Lorraine opened it slowly, slid the card out, white with gold trim, blank inside. She turned it over, checked for a note tucked in. Nothing. She held it up like evidence. Not even a sentence. Denise took one look and snorted. Even guilt takes shortcuts now. Lorraine placed the card flat on the kitchen counter, didn't bother tucking it away. By mid-morning, the house was quiet except for Alicia clicking through email in the front office and the occasional whir of the printer as new brochures rolled out. Lorraine took her time rearranging centerpiece bins and hand-folding clean linen napkins. It was ordinary work, repetitive, grounding. Then came a knock. Software, hesitant. Lorraine opened the door to find Marcus standing alone on the porch, holding a bakery box and looking like he hadn't slept. He offered a small, awkward smile. I brought muffins, thought they might still be neutral territory. Lorraine stepped aside. They sat at the kitchen table. She didn't ask if he wanted coffee. She poured it. Black. Nothing added. "She's spiraling," Marcus said quietly. "She sent the card this morning and then spent the next hour telling me it should have been enough. I told her it wasn't." Lorraine stirred her spoon in silence, though there was nothing in her cup to dissolve. "I'm not here to defend her," he said. I wanted to say I'm sorry for the way she's treated you, for letting it go on as long as I did." Lorraine nodded once. "She's an adult. So are you." "I know," he said, voice thick. "But I should have been a better mirror." She looked up at that. "Sometimes," she said, "you don't see the cracks until you stop standing in their reflection." He nodded slowly, pressed his palms flat to the table like he needed to steady himself. "She told me this place should have been hers, that it was always the plan." "It was never promised," Lorraine said. "She just assumed no one else would want it, or be worth it." There was a long pause, then a buzz from Alicia's office. She leaned around the corner. "Lorraine, you may want to see this?" Lorraine stood, crossed into the next room. Alicia turned the monitor toward her. On screen was an official notice filed electronically through a third-party legal service, a claim from Kayla Bell alleging that Rosegate Gardens was a generational gift and that she had been verbally assured of future ownership and access, citing emotional damages due to public exclusion from a family-held business. Lorraine read it once, then again. No panic crossed her face, no raised voice. She simply reached for her phone, tapped open her call log, and dialed Trent. When he answered, she said, "You were right to lock the LLC down." "I'll start the counterfiling now," he said. "Want to go public or stay quiet?" "Quiet for now," Lorraine replied. "She's already loud enough for the both of us." She ended the call. Behind her, Marcus stood in the doorway of the office, stunned. She really did it. She filed something? "Claims don't make truth," Lorraine said, her tone like glass. That afternoon, as clouds gathered again, Alicia received a quiet message request on the venue's Instagram from an account she didn't recognize at first, at Lisa Marie Edits. The message was short. "She lied about everything, huh?" Alicia screenshotted it and texted it to Lorraine with a single word: confirmed. Just before sunset, a package arrived, hand-delivered. Inside, a handwritten note on soft cream stationery. "You made something beautiful out of our worst year. You didn't just give us a venue. You gave us dignity. Thank you for letting us be your story too. Mia." Beneath it was a framed photo of Mia and her husband beneath the pergola, both laughing mid-spin. Sun slanting behind them like a spotlight from above. Lorraine held the frame in both hands, ran her thumb along the edge. Then she looked toward the locked file cabinet in the corner. She opened it, took out a folder labeled Protective Orders, Draft. The courtroom was beige, air-conditioned to discomfort, and half-empty. Lorraine sat with her hands folded in her lap, pearl earrings in, hair pinned back clean and deliberate. No lawyer beside her, Trent had offered, but she said she preferred to speak for herself. Across the aisle, Kayla sat with a clipboard and a high-priced attorney she barely looked at. Her hair was curled tighter than usual, her jaw tighter still. The judge, mid-60s, sharp-eyed, unimpressed, adjusted her glasses and glanced through the thin file in front of her. "Ms. Bell," she said, eyes flicking to Kayla, "you are alleging that the venue, Rosegate Gardens, is a promised familial asset, correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Kayla said quickly. "It was always known that it would come to me. My mother even referred to it as my legacy, multiple times growing up." "And you have no written documentation to support this?" "Well, no, but there were verbal assurances and—" The judge raised a single hand. "That's enough." She turned to Lorraine. "Ms. Lorraine Bell, do you have your ownership documentation?" Lorraine stood without needing to be prompted. She walked slowly to the front, placed a slim black folder on the bench. "Articles of Incorporation, Transfer of LLC, Historical Utility Records in my name, Voided Contract Copies, and an email from the plaintiff requesting last-minute access after failing to sign." The judge nodded. She opened the folder, turned 3 pages. "Very clear." Kayla's lawyer leaned in, whispering something. Kayla shook her head, eyes wide, mouth slightly parted. This wasn't how she'd imagined it. The judge didn't even lift her gavel. "Petition dismissed," Kayla gasped. "That's it? This venue belongs solely to your mother. There is no ambiguity in the documentation. You were not promised anything in writing, nor did you act in reliance on any such promise. You've been publicly using a likeness without permission. If she chooses to file counterclaims, you will lose those too." The judge looked back at Lorraine. "Would you like to move forward with any protective filings, Ms. Bell?" Lorraine met Kayla's eyes once. There was no triumph in hers, just clarity. "Yes," she said, "a restraining order on property interference. I'd like her to stop showing up unannounced, tagging the business in posts, or implying she has access." The judge tapped a few keys. "Granted. Temporary order effective immediately, with hearing for permanence scheduled in 30 days. Kayla's mouth opened like she might argue, but Marcus touched her shoulder. "Come on," he said softly. She yanked her arm away, eyes brimming, then followed him out with stumbling steps. Outside the courthouse, Kayla broke. On the steps, in full view of traffic and bystanders, she sat down on the second-to-last stair and buried her face in her hands. Marcus crouched beside her, saying something low Lorraine couldn't hear. She didn't linger. Alicia was waiting by the car. The moment she saw Lorraine, she opened the passenger door and handed her a cold hibiscus tea. "You were ice," Alicia said, smiling. "Literal ice." Lorraine let out a small breath. "I was tired." They drove back in comfortable quiet, the kind that said everything had shifted, finally and irrevocably. By late afternoon, the garden at Rosegate was bustling. Vendors milled about, laying down folding chairs, passing around trays of cucumber sandwiches and peach tarts. It was Alicia's idea, a vendor appreciation brunch meant to honor not just the clients, but the behind-the-scenes workers who made it all possible. Denise clinked her glass and raised a toast. "To the woman who stopped waiting for gratitude and started writing her own script." Applause rang out across the yard. Lorraine stood near the ivy wall, smiling but composed, not modest, not emotional, just grounded. "She really thought the last name was enough," Denise said later, sipping her mimosa beside her. "Thought blood was the same as bond." Lorraine didn't answer right away, then quietly, "She thought love was something she could inherit." A pause. "But it's earned, every time." From across the lawn, Alicia held up her camera. "Lo, smile!" Lorraine turned just enough for the light to catch her eyes. Inside the house, her phone buzzed once. A new email. From Kayla. Subject line, "You didn't have to humiliate me." Lorraine didn't open it. Instead, she opened her notes app and typed a single phrase for her memoir draft. "The garden only blooms for those who dig." The Saturday Kayla was supposed to walk down the aisle passed like any other. No music floated through the trees, no cars lined the street, no silk-draped chairs shimmered under Virginia's sun. The only sound in Lorraine's garden that morning was the gentle clatter of wind chimes and the rustle of Mia's ribboned thank you bouquet left on the gatepost, tied with a note in lilac script. "Your space changed our story. Thank you for letting us start it here." Inside, Lorraine stood in the office, holding a new frame. A photo Mia had dropped off herself, quietly, with teary eyes and banana bread wrapped in foil. It showed her and her husband beneath the lanterns, cheeks pressed together, eyes closed in laughter. There was something honest about it, something rooted. Lorraine hung it between two older photos on the office wall, one from a winter wedding in 2012, another from a military couple in 2016. Then she stepped back and studied them like a curator would. Each frame had been earned. None of them featured Kayla. By Monday, the phone wouldn't stop ringing. Alicia leaned through the doorway with her notepad and a grin. "We've had 5 new inquiries in 48 hours. 2 are referrals from Mia's planner. One's from a photographer who saw the brunch post. People are asking if we do wait lists." Lorraine smiled without looking up from the desk. "Tell them we're booked for Hearts First, drama later." That same afternoon, a local podcast host stopped by, a woman in her 30s with tortoiseshell glasses and a portable mic. "We're doing a mini-series on local women-owned businesses that survived family transition," she'd explained. "Your name came up from 3 different wedding vendors." They sat beneath the pergola for the recording, iced tea between them. The host leaned in, all warmth and curiosity. "So, how do you run a business when your family doesn't treat it, or you, with respect?" Lorraine didn't flinch. "You build boundaries that hold," she said, "and then you landscape around them." By the time the episode aired 3 days later, the listen count had doubled. Comments flooded in. Small business owners, daughters of difficult mothers, mothers of ungrateful children, people tired of being erased inside their own homes. "You didn't just reclaim space, you reclaimed worth. Thank you for showing it's not selfish to protect what you've built. Following Rosegate Gardens now, that's your legacy, not hers." Lorraine didn't reply to any of them. She didn't have to. Meanwhile, Alicia forwarded her an unusual inquiry from a makeup artist who'd once been hired by Kayla. Is it true she was never actually booked there? Because she told all of us the place was a done deal. Just wondering, I declined another gig that weekend. Lorraine read the message and closed the laptop. She wasn't surprised anymore. That evening, Denise strolled in holding a paper bag from a nearby deli and a local real estate flyer tucked under her arm. "Guess who I saw looking at one-bedrooms on Gray Street," she said, dropping both on the counter. Lorraine didn't have to guess. "Alone?" she asked, reaching for a pickle spear. "Yup, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Guy looked like he'd just signed a lease on reality." Neither of them said his name. It wasn't necessary. Later that night, the garden lights flickered on at dusk. Lorraine stood at the edge of the lawn, arms folded, watching as Jason and Elise, the Sunday brunch couple, strolled hand in hand past the fountain, scoping ideas for their anniversary picnic. They waved. She waved back. Across the street, an Uber slowed to a stop. Kayla stepped out, alone, wearing black leggings and sunglasses too large for evening. She didn't come to the gate. She stood across from it, just far enough not to violate the restraining order, her arms tight around her middle like she could still hold something in place. Lorraine didn't move from the porch. A minute passed, then another. Kayla turned and got back into the car. It pulled away. Inside, Alicia crossed through the kitchen, holding a tray of clean glasses. "She's still orbiting," she murmured. "She'll keep orbiting until she realizes the center moved," Lorraine replied. The check had been sitting in Lorraine's desk drawer for weeks now, folded, unsigned, clipped to a sticky note that read only, "Hold for Kayla." It had arrived before the court date, before the podcast, before the SUV watching from the curb. A placeholder, Kayla's last attempt at pretending money could replace respect. Lorraine pulled it out that morning while Alicia prepped for the upcoming vendor workshop. The garden was damp with morning mist, but the daffodils along the west wall had already started to bloom, 2 weeks early. She stared at the check for a long while, then pulled a black felt pen from the holder. Void. Clean, heavy strokes across the pay line. She slid it into a cream envelope, sealed it, and wrote across the front in thick block letters, "Lesson." When she walked it out to Alicia, the air was warm for March, just warm enough to fool someone into thinking winter was truly over. "Use this for the keynote," she said, handing the envelope over. "I want the new planners to see it." Alicia took it, read the word on the front, and gave a slow nod. Brutal. Honest. That afternoon, the vendor workshop hummed with soft chatter and folding chairs. Lorraine sat quietly in the back while Alicia led the session, all crisp talking points, contract best practices, and boundary setting for creative business owners. At the end, Alicia held up the envelope like a talisman. "This," she said, "is what happens when you wait for accountability that never comes. Write policies, not apologies." Polite applause filled the room. Some attendees took pictures. Back at the house, Denise had the news up on the tablet again. Not national headlines, but people headlines. And there it was. Kayla's latest post. A photo of herself in yoga gear beside a stack of self-help books and an untouched smoothie, eyes closed like she was mid-meditation. The caption read, "Healing isn't linear. Sometimes your own family chooses distance. I choose peace. I choose me." The comments below were less curated. "Girl, weren't you the one who tried to sue your mom?" You chose entitlement and got consequences. Peace starts with apology. Try that. Denise cackled, leaning back in the chair. They're eating her alive. Lorraine didn't look up from the seed catalog she was marking with a pencil. Let them. Truth blooms where ego withers. Denise raised her cup. To that. By late afternoon, the garden shimmered with new light, the kind that only comes after a cleansing rain and a season finally turning. Yellow buds opened along the trellis path. The lavender near the pergola had started to spike, too early, too bold, but somehow just right. Lorraine stepped outside barefoot, feeling the warm soil between the stones, the kind that stuck and crumbled at once. She knelt to check the rosebeds and found 2 small shoots curling toward the sun. Early bloomers, she murmured. Fighters. Behind her, Alicia called from the patio. The photographer from Elise's brunch just sent over final edits. He wants to submit to Southern Weddings. Lorraine smiled. Tell him he has my blessing. She stood, brushing dirt from her palms, and walked to the fountain where a new sign had been placed. Small, iron, elegant, private grounds. By invitation only. Just then, Denise's phone buzzed from inside the house. She picked it up and frowned slightly, then stepped onto the porch with a strange look on her face. Lo? Lorraine turned, hand still on the fountain. Denise held up her phone. You may want to see this. The article landed like a quiet meteor. Lorraine didn't even know it had gone to print until Denise handed her a copy of the Richmond Gazette during breakfast, folded once, headline peeking out beneath the edge of her scone plate. She forgot her mother's birthday, so Mom forgot the wedding. Beneath it, a photo of Lorraine standing beneath the pergola, sunlight threading through the vines, expression serene, powerful, free. I thought they were just asking about small business resiliency, Lorraine muttered, wiping her hands on a linen napkin. Denise grinned. Guess they thought honesty would sell more copies, and apparently it's already gone national. Lorraine looked up. Denise turned the tablet screen toward her. The article had been picked up by BuzzFeed, Slate, even Good Morning America's web roundup. Comments spilled across every platform. Women tagging each other. Family therapists weighing in. Wedding vendors citing it in LinkedIn threads about boundaries and burnout. She protected her peace and her property. Icon, imagine suing your own mom over a wedding you never paid for. We don't gatekeep healing, but we do gatekeep venues from entitled daughters. Lorraine scrolled briefly, then set it down and poured more coffee. By noon, Alicia came running down the front steps of the garden office, nearly tripping on the stone path. My inbox just had a stroke, she announced. 37 new booking inquiries, 3 podcast invites, 1 documentary interest, and a reporter from the Washington Post wants to call it the maternal boundary revolution. Lorraine blinked. That feels dramatic. So did her lawsuit, Alicia shot back. But this? This is just gravity doing its thing. Across town, the ripple was harder to swallow. Kayla's newest Instagram post, a shaky selfie with a caption reading, "Elder sabotage is real. Don't let legacy trauma define your story, Dahmer's self-defense," barely made it a full hour before the comments turned. Again. You really weaponized the word elder because your mom stopped enabling you? Maybe try accountability next time. You forgot her birthday, then you tried to sue her. This is not a redemption arc. That night, Marcus sent Lorraine a simple text. It's over. For real this time. No anger, just release. Denise read it over Lorraine's shoulder and exhaled. Guess the mirror finally cracked. Kayla disappeared from social media within days. No dramatic farewell. Just gone. Word reached Alicia through a friend of a friend that she'd moved in with a cousin near Williamsburg. No car, no ring, no plan. Her name was missing from wedding planning boards. Group chats went quiet. Alicia received a private message 2 days later from Lisa, Kayla's old friend. She's not mad you replaced her. She's mad you stopped giving her a stage. Lorraine didn't reply. Instead, she stood in the office one quiet afternoon and updated the display wall, moving Mia's framed photo slightly to the left to make room for Jason and Elise's new portrait. 3 couples, 3 chapters, each earned. She lit a small candle on the desk, lavender and cedar, and watched the flame for a few seconds before closing the office door behind her. By the weekend, Alicia had printed out the front page of the Gazette article and pinned it to the corkboard in the back hallway, just above a sign that now read, "Boundaries are not bridges. Cross them and we close the gate." The new bookings kept coming. So did the handwritten thank yous. So did the calm. But that night, just after the garden lights flickered on, Lorraine found a package on her doorstep. Unmarked, hand-delivered. Inside, a small canvas wrapped in craft paper. She unrolled it slowly, a watercolor sketch of the garden, soft strokes, unfinished edges, a single note on the back in Kayla's handwriting. "I see it now. I see you. I'm sorry." Lorraine held the canvas for a long moment, then walked to the fireplace, placed it gently in the hearth, and lit the match. The card hadn't burned all the way through. Lorraine found it the next morning, tucked into the corner of the hearth, slightly curled, but intact. The flame had licked the edges, but the center still held Kayla's handwriting, pale, unsure, almost afraid of its own truth. "I see it now. I see you. I'm sorry." Lorraine read it again, slowly this time, then folded it once, walked out to the yard, and tucked it under a clay garden stone, the same one she'd once used to anchor bridal runner fabric in the wind. This time it was anchoring silence, closure, no grand finale, no retaliation, just a wish she no longer needed granted. Inside, the morning air buzzed with motion. The screen door opened with a soft squeak. Mia stepped in, cheeks flushed, her body softer now, changed, expectant. "I hope I'm not interrupting," she said. "I brought lemon bars, and also, I was wondering—" Lorraine looked up from her mug, already smiling. "Baby shower?" she asked, motioning to the small curve just visible beneath Mia's knit dress. Mia laughed, hand instinctively resting there. "Is it that obvious?" "You're glowing like a lighthouse," Mia beamed. "Late June if you have anything. Just family, some friends. Nothing overdone." Lorraine nodded. "We'll make space. Full price, of course." Lorraine shook her head. "Family gets the discount." Mia blinked. "But Chosen counts," Lorraine said, scribbling a note on her planner. Later that afternoon, she had Alicia draft a new clause for the venue's booking policy. Found family discount, applicable to clients whose loyalty, love, and partnership outweigh blood. Requires one shared moment of truth and one hug that lingers too long. Valid indefinitely. It was posted on the Rosegate website before sundown. Denise arrived that evening with a bakery box and something wrapped in navy velvet. She placed both on the porch table and waited, fidgeting with the ribbon like it might untie itself. Lorraine opened the box first. Carrot cake, her favorite. One candle, no fuss. Then the velvet pouch. Inside, a delicate silver necklace, the charm a tiny open rose, petals just starting to bloom. On the back, inscribed in looping script, "Always yours." "I figured," Denise said, clearing her throat. "Since you finally gave yourself back to yourself, someone should remind you to keep it." Lorraine blinked once, then twice, then quietly reached over and touched Denise's hand. "Thank you," she said, and it meant more than it had in years. Alicia emerged from the garden office just as the string lights blinked on, brighter than before. Crisper. There was a new layer to them now, wired in with copper strand bulbs, each one shaped like a miniature lantern. "I upgraded the lighting system," she said. "Solar backups, remote dimmer, weatherproof wiring." Lorraine tilted her head. "On budget?" "Under." "And the dedication?" Lorraine asked, half teasing. Alicia pointed to the small copper plaque at the base of the switchbox. It read, "For Lorraine Bell, who showed us the power of saying no." They stood in a triangle beneath the glow, cider in hand, cake already cut and halfway gone. The sky dimmed, and the garden came alive in amber flickers. The pergola gleamed, the lanterns danced. Mia, still seated nearby, held her belly and smiled. "I want my daughter to grow up seeing this, what boundaries look like, what strength can sound like when it's gentle." Lorraine raised her glass. "To every woman who waited too long to make herself the home." They clinked gently, no cheers, just understanding. From the road, a car passed slowly, but didn't stop. No one peered in. No one reached for permission they hadn't earned. It was just the sound of summer on the rise and something inside Lorraine finally settling into bloom. Lorraine unlatched the gate with both hands, not because it was stuck, but because she wanted to feel the weight of it. The metal had warmed slightly in the morning sun, and when it swung open, the hinges gave a soft sigh, like even the hardware had been waiting for this. The path had been swept, the pergola draped in sheer linen, twined with early clematis. She took 3 steps forward and then stopped. A burst of clapping erupted from the far end of the garden. "Surprise!" Alicia waved from behind a tray of lavender scones. Denise raised a mimosa like a victory flag. Mia stood near the punch table, baby in one arm, beaming. The staff, every one of them, had taken the morning off their usual roles to set it all up. Wicker baskets with folded napkins, a breakfast quiche station, her favorite playlist low and steady over the speaker, Etta James, Nora Jones, Brandi Carlile, all women who sang like they'd survived something. Lorraine placed a hand over her mouth, not from shock, from something deeper, something settled. "Is this what happens when you let people love you on their own terms?" she said quietly, stepping forward. Denise met her halfway, slipped an arm through hers. "This is what happens when you stop waiting for the wrong people to remember your birthday." Lorraine laughed, fully, freely. Midway through the brunch, a figure hovered just outside the gate. Lorraine noticed first, but said nothing. Alicia turned slightly, then paused. "Is that—" It was Lisa, Kayla's former friend, the one who'd stopped replying to texts and turned off tagging months ago. She walked slowly, with a paper gift bag in her hand. No glitter, no brand name, just a white card clipped to the handle, scrawled in careful lettering, "For the one who broke the cycle." Lorraine walked to meet her. Lisa held out the bag but didn't step through the gate. "I didn't know what to bring, just wanted to say thank you," she said, voice catching, "for holding the line when the rest of us didn't know how." Lorraine nodded once. "You're not the first to wake up late, just one of the few who came back." Lisa blinked hard. "Happy birthday." Then she turned and left, just as quietly as she'd arrived. Back under the pergola, Mia was rocking gently on a wicker love seat, baby in her arms. Lorraine walked over, sat beside her, and reached. The newborn stirred but didn't cry. Lorraine cradled the bundle gently, her arms instinctive in the way that only comes from once having known how to hold someone with your whole heart and still being forced to let go. Alicia snapped a photo. Mia reached over and placed a soft hand on Lorraine's forearm. "She's already safe with you. You know that, right?" Lorraine didn't speak. She just held the baby a little tighter. Denise came up from behind, holding a small box wrapped in craft paper and twine. "I was gonna save this for later," she said, "but the moment's too damn perfect." Inside was a brass plaque, the kind you'd mount on a wall. Lorraine turned it over and read, "Forgotten isn't the same as erased. Not when you own the pen." Denise shrugged. "Seemed like your handwriting now." They mounted it in the office later that afternoon, just above the new gallery wall. 3 generations of joy, and none of them pretending. The sun sank low over the lawn, painting the roses in bronze. Candles flickered beneath the trellis. Someone turned the music down so the wind could speak for itself. Lorraine walked the garden perimeter once more, slowly, like someone counting blessings instead of missteps. She reached the gate, turned back, and let the latch fall with a click. Then she whispered to no one in particular, "This year, I made the wish, and I locked the gate behind it."